future, but right now they are at loss. So I think this should be documented and certainly submitted to the consultants who are undertaking the EIA or public participation, as well as to the county.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So Chris, that we will move forward with actioning those communications.
So, yeah, let me just add, Robin.
Yes.
If there is written objection sent to the county, they generally, if due process is followed, they generally will not, if there is written objection from a residents association, they will not be so keen to issue an approval quickly. They will demand that the team of consultants meets the residents association and the neighbors. So they will certainly be forced to the table to discuss with the residents if there is a written objection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for confirming that. And so, on behalf of the residents, that Lavender and Frank, I think, are representing the people around that property, we will draft something on behalf of the foundation with these sentiments. Okay, if we can.
That would be most welcome.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Alrighty, so if we can move to property number 2. Okay, and just to also let you all know that we are also live streaming this on our Facebook group. So this is, you guys are the direct attendees in the hearing, but it's kind of like in the gallery, the larger community, larger Nairobi is also able to view this live. Okay, so property number 2, change of user for property on Arc Wings Codec. Sorry, looks like the lining got off here. Apologies for that. But we can see there's the owners, Savannah Linker, Sharroot Company. This is their EIA consult. It was done by EMC Consultants, and we know that. So it's intended to be a 16-story twin tower. This is really off for some reason. Sorry about that. 16-story twin tower with 2 levels, basements to be established on a 1.02 acre of land with a total of 320 residential units. To include 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. The development will have 336 parking slots. I think you were about to show the next slide. Okay. Okay, and so that's just showing where where it is on a street view. Okay, so let's see here. So I don't know if Chris, if there's any comments or any thoughts about this one before we look at who may have signed up to speak to this one. I don't think actually, let me see, Fernandez, I don't know if this is, no, he wanted to speak on something else. Chris, any comments or thoughts about this property?
This is on Abwing's Codec, right next to the Shell, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
And if you're driving on Abwing's Codec, I think you will find that some activity is already going on.
Yes. So that means it's out of the bag. It's a cat out of the bag.
Not really. The way projects sometimes are phased, a developer could choose to do site clearance and demolitions first. Mm-hmm. And again, there is a gap somewhere that allows that process to proceed without necessarily any consultation. You just need to seek a demolition permit, which is an easy thing to get. It has nothing to do with the development. So again, you would have to look at the same issues. Obviously, this being front row on Abwing's Codec, the county is likely to view it a little bit more favorably with regard to the plot ratio, that is the height that they would give them, and maybe even the ground coverage that they would give them. They will also look at the trend along the road and see some of the developments. I think there is a building just opposite, diagonally opposite, that houses Co-op Bank. There is Yaya in the vicinity. Although it's, yeah, then on Agwing Skodek, just opposite where this, I think there is a new Quick Mart somewhere over there. Opposite that, there is quite a high-rise line of high-rise residential developments. So it's just for residents to keep that in mind, that when they look, Agwing Skodek being a major road, they are likely to view it a bit more favorably than others that are more deep-seated, and it is surrounded by commercial properties as well. Yeah, but again, of course, the same concerns that residents might have would apply. This is also a junction, so it's likely to make this junction even busier than it already is. The state of the road is usually not very good as well. The question is whether, the volume of traffic can be supported on this road. There's issues of stormwater drainage that will become a problem. Yeah, so it's the same concerns as explained earlier.
Okay. So, so we can, I think, as I think about this property in terms of its where this property is sitting and the size of it. What is it? 16 stories. I think, as we think about our local physical plan, where do we want the density to be along, major roads? It's not necessarily, as we looked at the previous property, a 13-story on a, even not a major road. Is, what's the suitability of where some of these higher buildings should take place and where they should be lined along, and so there's some kind of continuity of development. And so we've already seen quite a few larger, taller buildings along arc wings. And so we can already see that corridor is going to probably be where we'll find some of those buildings. But as you mentioned, the street level. So maybe we need to be talking to Kura to hear from them on what's their plan to be able to expand their capacity for all of these high buildings that people are trying to get along arc wings. Is that something we should write to Kura to hear from them?
Yeah, but then again, we must also as a community push for lesser ground coverage by these buildings, so that we don't have these buildings basically being built beacon to beacon. Then the character of the city and the street is lost.
Yeah. Okay, so we didn't have anyone signed up for this property to speak specifically, but we will take these comments to those boards. Okay, so let's see, maybe we're making an exception today. Somebody has just been told we have an Erastus that would like to speak. Erastus?
Yes, hi, good morning. Okay. Hi, yes, as I'm making a call from my car, yeah. But thank you so much. I'll be very brief. I live on Wood Avenue, right across the new property you're discussing. So just 4 very quick points to note. So I followed the conversation, but my views are this. The general infrastructure around that development, I think when you write to Kura and all the other relevant authorities, just mention these 4 quick things. The traffic has been abhorrible in the past few months. There's a matatu stage at the corner of Arguns and Wood Avenue, and that's just going to make things a lot more complicated with this new development. Already the state of the roads on Wood Avenue joining Arguns on both sides is, definitely, please bring that up. Third is the water situation. So for the past, let's say, 6 to 9 months, the water supply around this general area has just gotten worse and worse and worse. So basically, in fact, in the background, you can hear a water bowser. That's just a story of the day now around this area. Okay. So I know that the consultant for this property had come knocking at our gates, asking us to fill in a questionnaire. But once again, that questionnaire didn't give much detail, so we declined. But I guess for now, really, we don't understand what the property is all about, what it will look like, and in terms of what the impact will be in the neighborhood, but just raise up this general infrastructure, general support services that are required to be considered when this property comes up, because this is a major, major property. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for your contribution, Erastus. Can I just ask you a quick question? When did that EIA or that survey come around?
About a fortnight ago.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much for being here and for your contributions. Okay. So let us move to property number 3. Property number 3. There we go. Okay. So property number 3, this is for a change of route user LR number 1/402 on Kinderuma Road. The owner or the developer, Ever for Garden Company. I think they've registered new 4-home company to house this development. So it has done, and they have actually, so they have, this is the person that did their EIA in the company, Neo Life Consultants. They have, it's to be 4 15-story blocks, 4 different 15-story blocks of apartments comprising of 240 studio apartments, 660 one-bedroom apartments, and with a total of 900 apartments altogether, sitting on a plot size of 1.145 acres. The next slide for this one. Okay, and so that we have received the EIA report that was turned in and submitted to NEMA on March 20th. And maybe I can ask Chris to give any comments about this before we open it up to people that want to speak about this one.
Yeah, I can see this is on Kinderuma Road. There is a, if I pick this correctly, there is a hoarding, a mabati sheet hoarding on site as it is. Yes. It was already previously excavated. So there's a very large, deep excavation existing on site, currently full of water. And this is right next to this establishment called Ashaki Grill. I mean, you can see from the size of the plot, it's just an acre and 4 blocks of 15-story, and then, 600, is it 600 one-bed apartments and over, is it 200 studio apartments? It's just too much for this road. I mean, and by the way, Robin, even much as I gave my input, I think the association should still put, other than infrastructure and utilities, should consistently put a comment that it is an overdevelopment as well, because we need to try and push back some of these. If we don't push back on them, then the county is going to assume we are okay with some of them. So even if it was on front row in Agbins Kodek, it is certainly still an overdevelopment, and that needs to be put on record. So this one is, for me, it is clearly one of those overdevelopment. The blocks are unlikely to have enough distances between them. All that traffic pouring onto Kinderuma Road, which is a very, very narrow road. Utilities and services will certainly be stretched. Again, those must be some of the things that as an association we demand for, that can that it has to be conditional to improvement of certain infrastructure. Either that or you don't give it, because it's an overdevelopment. So it's an overdevelopment. It should be subject conditionally given based on upgrade of utility and other infrastructure. If not, it cannot be supported in this area and on this road. I mean, again, this road is an interesting one. There's a lot of other developments along it that have certainly exceeded development control guidelines. And it's difficult because the county has allowed this environment where it really depends on what the developer pushes for. The ambition of the developer drives the county. And so that is why this forum is great, because then the residents association can also start balancing that up with certain pushback. Yeah, so I think we need to certainly write back and say this is too much. But I wish the developer or the consultants were here to explain. Incidentally, the EIA reports should also contain a bit of the design, so that as residents we can also see what's coming up. We can see what distances they are allowing between buildings, between properties. So perhaps we need to demand for that as well, because if you look at any EIA report at the back, it's supposed to have attachments with the designs of the drawings. And this can be something that the Kilimani Foundation also requests for and says it's not complete until we have the designs and plans as well.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you, Chris. And I think also part of those attachments I noted in that EIA is if they've done, and if this is they've submitted it as a finished EIA, but it does not have any of the reports of the public participation or engagements that should have gone in that process. So as you think, you know, the substantiating documents that as a finished report, it did look to be as missing. And one of the things that was in the EIA report is saying that this is consistent with other developments in the area. So you can see the development behind here. I'm looking on the slide. And I think it's currently the zoning level still at 4 stories in Kilimani, roughly. Of course, nobody on the books, nobody going by. But they're going by precedence, if you will. If you already open it up, then they can say, hey, would you let this person do it? You let this person do it. So it looks like this is the direction that is being permitted. So that's kind of one of the dangers of not having the local physical plan. Okay, so I know that we have 2 people here that signed up to speak on this property. One is Beth. Beth, you're here. Can we unmute Beth? And very good, Beth. So we have 3 minutes, please, Beth. Thank you.
Yes, as a resident of Kindaruma Road, and thank you for this forum, Robin. When I saw what they're proposing to do with Forever with this property, I was dumbfounded. One, because we're already experiencing so many problems on Kindaruma Road with the current ongoing construction. It's such a narrow road, and then you have trucks that maybe are taking out the debris from excavation or delivering supplies, and you'll constantly have the roads blocked off. And also, as a result of those same trucks being on this road, we have potholes all the time. So the road keeps having to be redone. We have mega potholes all the time. So the road can't even support the construction materials being taken onto site and whatever is being excavated from the site. We also have perennial water problems. We've even given up on trying to get Nairobi Water to give us constant water supply. And I know that the solution to that would be that they would want to dig their own boreholes. But if you take a quick survey along Kindaruma Road alone, almost every development already has a borehole, which, I mean, that is not supposed to be allowed. There should be, I think, is it 800 meters between boreholes or something? I don't know. So if they add their own borehole as well, we're already straining, the water table and all of that. Electricity has also been a problem. And for them to be supplying, for us now to be able to supply 900 additional units to what we already have, I don't know. I don't think infrastructure has been considered. Then again, how do we have 900 units from a 1.14 acre plot? That is definitely an overdevelopment. So yeah, I don't know. This is not the right place for it. I feel that it's really not. Our road can support it, and all the other infrastructure cannot support a development of this size.
Okay, great. Thank you for your comments regarding this development. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see here. I think the next person that wanted to speak on this was Matonda.
Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to
Welcome.
be able to comment. Just like Beth said earlier, Kindaruma Lane is actually, the infrastructure is still, okay. Hi. Um,
Yes.
so I was saying the
Uh-huh.
infrastructure is actually pretty bad. There is so much traffic on Kindaruma right now. Same to the water issue. We don't have sufficient water. And for me, as professional in the built industry, I just did some research before I came into this meeting. And what you realize is that Kilimani, the ground coverage for any building needs to be 35%. They are currently reviewing that. And I think the results will be out next week as far as how many levels of building that can be done. But for 4 buildings with 900 apartments within an acre is certainly an overkill, which for me wouldn't work considering the current status of Kindaruma Road. So I think the developer needs to review. I think we can be able to consider something like 56 apartments, like in the initial case, I think would be much better. So that would be my comment for this time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Matonda. And thank you for doing the pre-research and bringing that information to us about the 35%. And we'd love to stay on that in regards to the review of that. Who's doing that review? And we'd love to, as stakeholders, be a part of that. Okay, so I think that is all that had pre-signed up for this property. We'll note those interventions and those comments, and we'll make certain again, like the others, that they get written written letters sent to the bodies in regards to those properties. Okay, if we can move to property number 4, please. And this one, I'm telling you, it was like a needle, trying to get a needle out of a haystack out of all the properties. This one had the lease. And so this one had the least one. It is one that came on our radar, but we were unable to find the developer. We were unable to find any EIA. But we saw it. I believe, I can't even remember. I'm sorry how it came on our radar. So I apologize for not having more information on this. But I think if I were to give an editorial about this process as people, as stakeholders trying to find out information that impacts us, it is very tedious and arduous. And if there was a lack of, commitment, we understand that people will throw their hands up and we'll find almost, that's how we find anything in our neighborhoods. So Chris, I don't have, unfortunately don't have much more on this information. Don't know if you want to say the incident, the commonality of this, if you will, the commonality of not being able to get, real information before we move to the next agenda.
I think as an association, we can suggest perhaps to the county to publish some of these applications on their website so that it becomes so that there's an easy repository to check against should you wish to find out some information. We as residents associations, we need to be clever about how we'll do it, because like I've told you, there is also a feeling also in certain places at the county where they feel that if you make a lot of this information public, then we'll just never have development, because all residents, their first attitude is the not in my backyard attitude, and they will always try and block it. So, but some bit of work needs to be done to have this information available and accessible. But since we have an LR number, we should still put in writing and say, we have seen this change of user on this particular plot. It's not, we've been unable to get any information, and it's not clear to us what is going on, and therefore we request that anything or any application with regard to this should be put on hold until the Residents Association is sufficiently aware of what is going on. So there is still some room to put in some communication with regard to this.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chris. It has just been brought to my attention that Julius may be a neighboring of this property and may have some comments to give on this. Julius, if maybe we'll get you on mute. Would you like to enter a comment about this property? And Daniel, if you could unmute Julius. And I don't know what's happening with the Daniel's screen. Okay, Daniel, can you unmute Julius, please? One second, Julius. There you go.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. I'm just next to this property. And the concern that we have is there was a Chinese developer that came into that property and they spent a week drilling for soil testing. And what we did is we visited there to find out what's going on. And the reason we did that is on the opposite side, we have Quickmart, Kilimani, which has just been completed. And we had objection to that. And when the developer came, he took the attitude, that we are opposed to the project and did not entertain any discussions. And what happened was we raised an objection. We have gone all the way to NMS, and NMS says, unfortunately, there is no guideline or policy to say where you can put commercial or residential, etc. And they take advantage of that. For your information, Quickmart was started even before any approvals could be obtained. Now, when we went to 680, the people who are doing the drilling told us that they have bought the property and a combination of commercial and residential will come up and it's going to be 32-story. And that is what alarmed us. Secondly, in the development that we have here on Kilimani Road, everybody has a borehole. I've been living here for 14 years and we have been spending, we are 23 apartments and we spend an average of 100,000 shillings every month buying water, every month. We have 5 boreholes within a radius of 100 meters. Certainly when you bring in this 32-story, if it is true, we haven't seen any change of user. We understand normally they come and put a board and photograph and say we have done it. We didn't see the change of user for Quickmart. So that is why our antennas are up. So we should not ignore this, the fact that it is not on record, because the next thing that we will see is a building coming up. Right now, Quickmart is up. We are starting to have experience with traffic and borders and Ubers right at our gate. If you want to look at Kilimani area, the property we have just discussed about the 900 apartments, you must view it together with this 32-story. The one behind us here, sorry, I don't have the LR number, but the twin ones, if you know this area, they are sort of twin tower, and I think they are 21 stories. How are you going to support the infrastructure in this area? We are in for a big problem. And Chris, it's not being an obstruction per se, but there is no forum where residents are allowed to come and speak, even objectively. We are not involved even in change of user or the development. Let me just hold there for the timing, and then maybe this conversation will continue.
Great, thank you very much, Julius. I'm so happy that you are here and that you've joined us. And there were not any forms, but there are now, Julius.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you very much. That'll go on the record, and we'll make certain that we stay close with you as we track that development, okay? Chris, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add before we close out the agenda of talking about property specifically.
No, it's just that we could learn a thing or two from other residents association, like in Karen and Langata. The Karenata Association has been strong over the years and having a hand in developments, although they have sort of tapered off nowadays. I think when you're driving towards Karen, you can see they're losing a bit of grip, but for a long time, they would stay strong. So I think Kilimani Foundation has an opportunity to show the rest of the country how this can be done. Consultants and developers who claim it is hard to reach the residents and the associations can now, I think the thing with the pandemic, it has forced all of us to be able to gather together in Zoom meetings and things like that. So this will be now an opportunity where we should actually formally write to the county and let them know that as a residents association, we'd like to be made aware of all the applications in the area, and we would like to participate. We have set up a Zoom forum where developers can do their presentations for what they're doing and their name, and we'll give them feedback, and we want to support the county in their work and just make them aware that we have made this platform available for residents, and then also find a way of publicizing it, maybe across our neighborhood for people to know that this is there. But information can also start flowing in. Different people will have certain information that can be useful to us. But let us put our feedback and our objections in writing. Having sat there for a while, I have seen that if there is something in writing, people generally become more cautious and do not want to proceed without having it addressed. So the county will tend to throw it back to the developer and the consultants and tell them, we have a letter from this residents association. Can you go and get their letter of no objection? So somehow they will be forced to come back to us, but we need to write. Of course, we send to the county, let's copy NEMA, let's copy NCA, let's copy all these agencies that are involved. I can advise as well which offices should be copied. I think you can reach out to me later and we can talk about it, and just make sure it is on record.
Okay, wonderful, great, thank you so much. So that closes the first agenda item of specific properties. I want to move to the next one of general briefings, and we have with us Stanley Luvaga, who is the Kilimani Ward Administrator. And I want to give him an opportunity to speak on this hearing. Stanley, if you can unmute yourself. I'm sorry, maybe first Daniel, if you can give him permission to unmute. And then Stanley, if you would unmute yourself, please, and feel welcomed here. Yes, welcome, Stanley. Please feel free to. Good morning, good day. We just crossed after. Good day and welcome. We just want to give you an opportunity to speak on anything you've heard, and I don't think we've had a chance to meet you. So these are Kilimanians, are people that have an interest in Kilimani. So feel free to give any comments that you may have.
Thank you for welcoming on board. First and foremost, I'm so grateful for the healthy deliberation that you've had. Ella?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue.
Yeah, for the healthy deliberation that you've had. It is important that the area that you resident, the concern that you have as the infrastructure, infrastructure is key, and your input is paramount, and we should see how we can mitigate through this, because I'm looking at 900 units, maybe at an average of maybe 4 people per unit. That's around 3,000, and then that area, that the infrastructure cannot be able to accommodate that fully. And the area of security, as you've mentioned, it is important that it should be looked into, and that area being a sensitive area hosting the state house, we have to look at it broadly and soberly, so that the investor should have his way, the residents should have their way, so that it should be a win-win situation. Thank you, and I hope we'll continue engaging on the same.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Stanley. So we will follow up with you after this hearing to see how we can work together and get these, unblock the communication flow, if you will, from Kilimanians to the county to NMS, so that we can move things along with some alacrity. Thank you. We're so happy that you're here. Look forward to working with you closely. Okay, so next one, I think Feo is on the agenda. Feo is here. Feo, if we can unmute Feo, and he wanted to address something on a general matter. Feo, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, my name is Feo Fernandez. I happen to be an architect, and I have lived in Kilimani for about 45 years. I've seen it grow and change, and I've been in this profession dealing with the council for about 40 years. The conversation that we've been having has kind of overwhelmed me in a way. Because we seem to be making compromises on what we are going to agree with, what we're going to accept as far as development in our area, as opposed to what is allowed. I heard comments about we have to have some sort of balance in development, which is completely true. The zoning that we have, and it was mentioned in previous conversation by somebody, generally it's 75% plot ratio and 35% ground coverage in areas which are on sewer, which is generally most of Kilimani. These zoning laws and bylaws are very old. They have never been updated, but we have to look at how we address these things whilst we are objecting or making our comments to developments that are currently happening. We need to look at our long-term strategy. It seems like we are accepting the wrongs that are happening, and they are so overwhelming. Because when somebody talks about how many boreholes there in the area and the number, it's kind of mind-boggling to where we've gotten to. But I think we have to stay the course because that's the only way we'll get to where we want to be. The situation is such that we have to be addressing. For example, we have no information on bylaws that come to us. We have to get to a situation where the authorities decide what is the level of development that is going to happen. Some of us are saying, oh, maybe 56 apartments will be acceptable, maybe 30 apartments. That's creating a kind of scenario that is not the best way to go. We need to have a level where we set, and the authorities need to come up with that level.
Okay.
Currently, we have these low levels, and those are things that we need to stick with.
Okay.
I think there has to be a balance. I think we have to think about a long-term way of how we're going to address these problems, so that we get firm laws that we go by, not ambiguous, not 56 apartments or maybe like that. So those are the comments that I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Phil. Thank you so much. And I think that that is in consensus, one that is critical and in need, if you will. So you're right on point, I think. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that, so that was what we had for the general briefing part. If we can now move us to the next section of our agenda, and I'll call on Emma to speak on a few points and some, what the Kilimani Project Foundation is taking action on in regards to plan development in the Kilimani ward. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Robin, for making this happen. Thank you to all the contributors. I think it's been a very good session, very constructive, very sober, and suddenly a very great start. And I think Theo has just taken the words out of what I was going to talk about. That really the reason where we are is because we have no law, we have no standard to measure any of these developments because the rules were thrown out the window. There are no rules anymore. The rules that were there are now superseded, they're obsolete, and we need to fix that in a sense. We must have something that we've all participated in saying this is the standard. So this is the win-win situation for investors and residents and the environment. And that process is what we want to look at in terms of what Theo was also saying in terms of long-term strategy. It's a Kili plan and saying what we want our Kilimani to be like. Even when we're talking about apartments and commercial, what is our big vision of Kilimani? How do we see, why do people come to Kilimani? What is our unique vibe? And what is that we then want to be very deliberate about what we want it to be in terms of a vision of our community, a place where people can live, work and play in, and all of us can coexist in harmony. So that is really the basis of what I'm talking about this morning and the Kili plan. So we are, in terms of purposing to bring that conversation back. Unfortunately, for the last 1 year since 2018, when Kili plan started, there's been I don't know what to call it, but there's been a bit of upheaval at the county, and you're all aware of that. We don't even know who we're dealing with half the time, whether they're legal or illegal entities, and that sort of has created a problem. Even the leadership crisis also creates a crisis in the built environment in all other areas. So that's part of what we're grappling with. But as the Kilimani Project Foundation, we're saying that we are going to be proactive, and that's why without having any of the developers come in, without having county, except for our ward administrator, but in terms of county and NMS coming into this conversation, we said we must start and then take this to them. And I like what Chris has said in terms of letting them know that we are having this forum, that this is what we would like. It's not demanding for this and not sitting back and waiting and hoping they will do something. So we do not have a local area development plan, and that's part of our problem, that all these things have not been considered holistically, vis-a-vis infrastructure, vis-a-vis spaces for people to, children to play in, where the schools, where the hospitals, and we must start from that point in terms of having a vision of where we're going to before we get sort of drawn into this madness of 900 units. So what is the vision and where do we want to go? So that conversation is still going on. So all of you, please just keep the fire burning. And even and we are also going to keep the fire burning in terms of all of us as a community, in terms of getting the city council to get this local area development plan going, and the zoning, at the bare minimum, the zoning bylaws upgraded to with our participation in it. We're aware that there was a process to upgrading that about 6 years ago. Unfortunately, because of one or two other things, the consultants who did that process were not paid, and therefore we do not have an updated zoning guideline for our community. So we are purposing to do that, and we just want all of you to be involved as we walk this journey together. So thank you so much, Robin.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma. So thank you very much. We appreciate everyone for being here. I think this brings us to a close for our first virtual public hearing on planned developments here in the Kilimani ward. I think there is a survey that
Sorry,
is.
Robin, I forgot to mention something, that how people can participate. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, part of this is what we're calling Kili Watch. So we as residents are ensuring that we are our own, that we're making sure we're our brother's keepers in a sense. And if you see something, we're not even saying see something, say something. We're saying if you see something, do something. And you can get in touch with the foundation. You can also tweet a picture and tag the necessary authorities and use the hashtag KiliWatch. Somehow we find also airing these sometimes on the streets of Twitter sometimes gets more attention. But as an association, we also purpose to put this in writing in terms of objection. So please, everybody, hashtag KiliWatch. If you see something, do something. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Yep, if you see something, do something. That's and again, we're developing a muscle here. We think we're developing a muscle among Kilimani, that we don't just see stuff happening and just complain about it. I think that's always been the origin of the spirit of the community foundation, that we take action and we use our agency and have it go the direction we want it to go. Okay, so I think that wraps us up for the day.
Excuse me. My name is Wairimo Wayaki. May I just say something before you close?
Okay. Yes, please.
Yeah. Yesterday's news bulletin on radio, there was a finding by the Ministry of Health of a death by rickets in children. A very young child had died of rickets. And so there was a warning from the Ministry of Health that these apartments and congested dwellings are at risk of rickets now. So that is something to take into account in any developments going forward.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Don't know, maybe if you can send us a copy of that. There's a link or something so that we can also have that information. Thank you so much. Okay, so that will bring us to a close. I think there is a poll. There is a poll that's here and that's available. We'd love your feedback. If you would give us feedback, how useful would you rate this baraza this morning? And how often do you think these should be held? So thank you so much. And we will make certain that you receive the minutes from this meeting, those of everybody that registered. And we will also make certain that you're in the loop of all further engagements and discussions in regards to the built development of Kilimani. Thank you all and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, thank you. Bye.
Eunice, simu yangu inaleta shida.